Okay, there was some technical issue and I had to reconnect back. Uh, so we had to just disconnect. Hi, Mr. Sandeep. And I'll wait again for Kamini ma'am. So we had to restart all over
Again. Okay. Hello.
Yes, Harish. Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
so finally we got connected. Yeah. The
Yeah.
settings are very tricky in every operating system. So we will wait
Right.
a couple of minutes, ma'am, till everyone gets added. So
Sure.
thank you so much. I have to say, to be a part of this live series which I had planned, and really getting your time is very, very precious. And really, the whole idea of this series was to help out parents, reach out to our clients, across, because this lockdown definitely has cut off, professional help, where therapies would not be happening as much as the parents would be able to do. So the whole idea
Right.
was to just share whatever we could and help them out in this lockdown phase to cope up with their children, their schedule, their therapies, or any inputs that would help them. So one of
Right.
the very important where I felt IDI would be of great help in this space when we talk about autism, because you have been doing a lot of online work way before all these things came into play. So I thought you would be
Right.
a fantastic resource person to reach out to parents. And just to tell you, Kamini ma'am has been into field of IDI since many years. She's very well known across Asia and globe, and one of the pioneers, I should say, who has started her work in India and Dubai as well. Right, ma'am? Your consultancy is
Yes.
in Dubai. So,
Right.
ma'am, how do we go ahead? Is I have some questions for you related
Sure.
to what parents have sent me, and we will see if there are any online questions which pop up. So we can address that at end, or we can just go with the flow.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. I'm
So
fine.
I'll start with that. Many of us are not aware what is IDI. So you'll have to give some brief about IDI.
Right. So RDI stands for Relationship Development Intervention. And you can hear me, right, Harish?
Yes, perfectly fine.
Okay. So RDI stands for Relationship Development Intervention, and our aim is to empower parents. So,
Right.
to train parents, to empower them, for them to be the best guides for their child, because end of the day, the child goes home to the parents, right? And
Right.
if parents are not empowered, they don't have this guided participation relationship with their child, so that
Right.
gets really difficult.
Right. That is excellent. I think this is one field which is so very much emphasizing on the connection, the bonding, the connection, and the interaction where the child should have in a very harmonious way, very holistic way, which can really flourish, or which can accelerate their progress, which we never really think in terms of therapy.
Right, right. So
Yeah.
true.
So, ma'am, yeah. So, in this phase of lockdown, adults with autism, now this is specifically for adults with autism, are finding very difficult to cope up with this phase where the whole routine has gone for a toss. So, how do we address those concerns?
So, what I've been telling my families, Harish, is I look at it as a four-pronged measure.
Right,
And so this is a checklist that parents should follow on a daily basis,
okay,
just to make sure how we are doing and how the children are doing, right? So one is physical activity.
okay,
So ensure that they get adequate amount of physical activity. And I know that they're so used to going out and exercising downstairs and cycling and all of that. I know Mohit does that. So there
right,
is a restriction on that, from that front. But
right,
what we also do is we've adapted. So he gets an hour of physical activity every day on our eighth floor terrace. So where there
right,
is ball activities, he plays some cricket, and then there are some weight training exercises and stuff that he does. So we try to
right,
make do with what we have. I also recommend some household chores. So I know,
right,
mothers are so overwhelmed these days. because they are doing so many chores.
Correct.
There's no help at home. They end up cooking,
Correct.
cleaning. Why not involve the children in that as well, or the adults, I would say.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that gives it, that's the physical aspect. And then we have the mental challenge.
Okay.
So, say for example, if a young man goes to his mom and says, "Well, let's eat this or let's make something," she can invite
Right.
him and say, "Let's make it together,"
Right.
right? And then create challenge in that framework. So, for example, if they're making potato sabzi, so
Right.
he needs to find where the potatoes are, where's the
Right.
peeler, knife. If they're not used to doing this, this becomes a challenge for them,
Correct.
and so involve them in day-to-day activities. Don't make it easy for them. Let them search for things. Let them solve little problems that come their way.
Correct. Correct.
Challenge them mentally so they're alert. So it's physical activity, mental challenge, then academic enrichment.
Okay.
Reading, writing, typing is a must. So for every day, a little bit of read for the older boys or girls, read something from the paper if it's applicable to them, paper or any magazine. Nowadays, the papers are stopped, but
Yeah.
like read something online, type something. Many of our adults are non-vocal as well. So
Right.
use this as an opportunity to type something, work on the communication via typing.
Right. Right.
Some of my older boys journal. So this is an excellent
Oh.
opportunity to journal every day. So there is some sort of academic enrichment. And then,
Right.
the other thing is leisure. Like, what do we do for leisure, right?
Correct.
Board games, family games, things like Fitness, which is also a physical activity.
Right.
Some iPad time, not too much of it, but some of it is fine.
Right.
So, basically breaking it down into these four categories and seeing that, okay, does my youngster get all four of these? This really, it helps the parent and the child, I've seen.
Correct. Correct. I think a good structure would really help what you said. Looking at overall development, the physical, mental, and the leisure, and also the learning should not stop
Right,
that way.
right.
Right. Right. Okay, ma'am. We move to the third question. Now, many children have started to show signs of aggression because the routine is changed. There are limited resources. They are not able to step out. So, how do we address the aggression in this way?
Right. So it's a very important question and very valid. I think if we need to ask the question why. Why is the aggression happening? Is
Right.
the child not being occupied? Is he or she bored? Or is there too much going on? Are there too
Correct.
many instructions? Like, what's going on? So we really need to look at this and see, what exactly is going on. I normally, if a parent comes to me with this, I ask them to fill out some data sheets, which I'm
Right.
happy to offer people here as well. So if
Right.
anyone wants data sheets for this, for tracking behaviors, for filling out what the
Right.
day looks like,
Right.
just put your email address here and we'll send it to you.
Yes. 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 Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah. And
Right.
so
Right.
also, simple things, Harish, like we so often we tell children what not to do,
Correct.
but we also need to tell them what to do, right? They
Right.
need to know, like, if I'm not supposed to do this, if I'm not supposed to do this, if I can't go out, if I'm not able to step out in the car for a drive, well, what else can I do? So
Right.
those options, I think we need to plan. We need to have these lists available, and these things we need to keep in mind. Also, always keeping in mind that aggression may be a form of communication. So for many
Absolutely.
of our children or adults who are non-vocal, how are they going to express to us? It will come out in this way. So really,
Correct.
not looking at it as a negative behavior, but to see, okay, why
Right.
is this going on? What is this person trying to communicate with me? That's very
Right.
important.
Right. No, I agree to that point, ma'am, that aggression could be a sign of communication. And
Right.
specifically when we are so much into saying no to everything, it becomes like a vicious cycle because they
Right.
are probably not aware of options, what they are supposed to do in this situation. So it's like a
Right.
vicious cycle. And again, we see the aggression is not really tackled, or the core root of it is not tackled. So
Right.
very valid point indeed. Okay. So I always see you emphasize a lot on slowing down things, just slow
Right.
down everything. So would you like to just highlight on that uh,
Sure.
aspect?
Sure. I think slowing down is such an important part of it. Slowing down specifically for the parent or the guide. Slow down to give the child time to process.
Right,
For us to slow down with our instructions.
right,
If we actually watch a session, we might be saying, do this, now do this, do that. It may get overwhelming for the other person, right? So slowing down on instructions, giving time. There are so many times where I'm working with a student, and I think I once remember I was working with a young man actually, and we were cooking in the kitchen, and I put him after we finished everything. I put him on the spot for finding a cover for the vessel that we were cooking in. So we had finished, and he was unfamiliar with the kitchen. So, he got a plate first. And I said, yeah, but this is not a good option. What else do we do? And this went on for 3 or 4 minutes till he actually found the right cover. Now, it was much easier for me to just instruct him and say, there's the cover. But can you
right,
imagine the workout that I gave his brain by giving him those few minutes to really figure out
right,
what
right.
how to problem solve this?
All correct, correct.
I see sometimes I see helpers playing cricket with students and stuff, and they're kind of spoon fed. Okay, now you bowl here, now you bat here, go and stand there. Why? I mean, if we just say, okay, you're the bowler, and leave it at that, will this child take the ball, go to the bowler's position, turn his body around and bowl?
Right, right, right.
We need to give them that opportunity. And unless we slow down, we cannot give this opportunity, right?
Very,
And
very
then,
important point.
yeah, yeah, Harish. And also, like, once we slow down, once their processing picks up, then we challenge them. It's not that, we're going to stay slow, but Dr. Gutstein uses this statement, slow down to speed up.
Right.
So we're slowing down so that eventually we can speed up so that they can take more challenges. And the slowing down is more for us to calm down a bit, to give them time.
Exactly. Very, very valid and very insightful indeed. Ma'am, there is one question that has popped up by Hiral, and she says, restless behavior of a child not wanting to reject to stay at home. How should we control that?
Um, I would use a lot of, regulation activities, Harish, which would
Okay,
just be this is something that I've tried with a lot of my students, and it really helps. So just walking together with them, start and stop, hold hands, connect with each other, transfer things from one end of the room to the other. That really calms them down and regulates them. Simple, sender receiver kind of frameworks that we set up. For example, I've seen this with a little 4-year-old. His mother was doing this with him. I loved this activity. So she had him actually standing on the kitchen counter, and she had a
right,
number of bottles there. And she was handing him the bottle. So she was the hander, and this little boy had to put the bottles or jars away. So he had to
right,
figure out, where is their place, where do I need to put this bottle? So little
right,
things like that, if they can do with us, setting the table. They may not,
right,
when they're very young, they may not know exactly where to place the mats, but we can always show them, but give them a very clear role, kind of even saying that I'm the one who's going to hand you stuff, and you're going to put it away. Right?
correct,
So
correct,
simple activities like this, which are sender, receiver, assembly line kind of activities, that really calms them down, and doing it
Correct.
in a very slow fashion. So you'll
Slow fashion.
actually see their anxiety going down. They'll be
Right,
much more
right, right,
regulated.
right. So I think there is a carryover of the question which you have already answered. So the question was, so do we break down the task or we simply instruct the task
Do we break down the task
or we instruct
we
or we
instruct?
simply instruct? Yeah. So should
No,
we
we
break down
kind
or
of,
should we simply instruct is the question.
yeah. So we actually, it's we can kind of demonstrate to the child, or show them what we are doing rather than instructing, because if we instruct directly, we're taking away from their thinking.
Right, right.
So the aim is that we make them think. This is how we
Think.
build
Correct,
neural connectivity in the brain,
correct,
and
correct.
we challenge them to think. I have an anecdote to share, Harish. When I started RDI, Mohit, my son, was 17 years old. So
Okay.
I was a behavior analyst. My first, I was trained as a behavior analyst. I'd done it for years. I was trained at the Lovas Clinic. And so I was a hardcore behavior analyst with
Right,
instructions, right, wrong, sitting at the table, working for 5 hours a day. And,
right.
my first RDI consultant had flown down from the US, and she was working with us for a few days. And one day she turned around and she said, Kamini, you're a thief. And I was shocked. I was like, what? What is she saying? And she said, you're a thief of Mohit's thinking. You have
Right.
to let him think. Put
True.
him on the
True.
spot for thinking. Let him struggle. Don't do things for him. Don't instruct immediately. Don't prompt immediately. Right? So that
Right,
changed my life, Harish. It
right,
was
right,
like really a game changer in my life.
right. No, no, that makes a lot of sense. Actually, those pointers are very valid. I'm sure many of us would agree to that. So there are a few more questions which are popping up, ma'am.
Right.
So I think about the leisure time, someone has asked, Hiral has asked that, can we give them moving around the building or to their neighborhood or the lawn area in the building? Which I think is right.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that clearly, Harish.
So the question is, talking about leisure time, can we have them to move around in the building or to the neighborhood compound? Which I think you agree to that. We can just take them out for walks, which you mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's keeping this lockdown in mind and the safety of the child.
Right, right. Of course, the
I
protocols
mean,
have to be followed.
even stepping out, we don't know who's come that way or who has
Correct,
touched
correct,
what. In
correct.
our building, what happens is that, if the milk lady comes or anyone comes, they just go up to the watchman and hand over stuff.
Oh, yeah,
So,
right, right.
we don't, even if we have this eighth floor open terrace. So we go there, but then there's sanitizer
Right.
right outside the house. So these
Correct,
kind
correct,
of
correct.
precautions, because
Yeah,
there are
yeah, I think,
buildings in the nearby area which are actually closed off now.
right.
So I think we should be very careful with the
Careful
children.
with that, right. So the next question here is how to challenge a child with less cognitive function to cope up anxiety. How are they connected?
Right. So, like, sometimes I feel that we use less cognitive function when someone is non-verbal, but
Okay, true.
I feel that all of them have immense capability. We need to break through and understand how they actually learn. So each child learns differently, and you know, regulating a child helps them to a great extent, where they do open up with you, and you're able to tell what kind of how your child learns and how you can help them. So again, I'll share Mohit's example. Once we started working on regulation for a couple of years, suddenly I realized that he can paint. I had no idea that he could paint. And
Right.
this was, he started painting at age 18, and after that he's had exhibitions. His artwork has gone to Paris, it's gone to
Yes,
Delhi,
it's
all
amazing.
over.
It's amazing.
Similarly with my other students also, once they were regulated and we kind of got hold of their behavior, they were able to control themselves. One of them is a master chef. He was trained with the
That is
Verishka
amazing.
Foundation. We've
Yes,
actually
yes.
seen them emerge and show their potential. So I think it's kind of understanding, working closely with a consultant and trying to figure out, okay, how do we regulate? Once they're regulated, you'll actually see their potential.
Fantastic. Thank you, ma'am, for addressing that. So the next question is, spending more time in visuals, how to slowly wean off for 11-year-old child.
So he's spending too much time on visuals, is it?
Yes, yes. So how do we wean him off? The child is
So
11 years old.
visuals means iPad and stuff.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so I think finding alternative activities for the child to do,
Right,
right? So if instead of the iPad, if we keep something ready, it takes a lot, to kind of plan and say, I'm going to give him ABC activity, and so that he's interested in doing something else. So
right,
normally every session of ours, we start with 10 of 5 to 10 minutes of regulation so that the child is calm, and then work on an activity which is a mental challenge, right?
right,
And then
right.
we use the iPad to actually encode what they've done. So we kind
Okay,
of work on typing with them if they're able to type, or otherwise we type for
correct.
them, just to let them know how competent they actually are.
Right, right, right. Okay, ma'am. So we move to the next question. There are some of online questions where we can take it at the end, I guess. So the next question is, my child has become extremely fearful and to an extent that he has regressed, that he doesn't give eye contact or respond to name. So how do we calm him down and start getting the response which was seen before the lockdown phase?
Right, right. So, yeah, I think this is applicable even, despite the lockdown. I find many children going into like growth preventing mode, which
Right,
we look at as regression. So, you know, that's where we need to simplify and slow things down initially, make it simple. When we set up a framework, keep it nice and clean, make it very clear for them what they're supposed to do.
right, right.
Once they understand the pattern, then you challenge them a bit, and they really feel good about it. You'll see that from restricting themselves, they actually open themselves up. So I think from growth restricting, they become like growth seeking, and they
Speaking,
seek
correct,
out new things. You'll
right,
actually, I've seen children like they look around, they start looking outside, they start commenting on things, which is so beautiful. Whereas, on one hand, you have mothers saying, what's this? Look at this, tell me what this bird is, name this, name that. And the children are kind of not responding. But
correct,
then
correct,
once they understand the situation, and once they're regulated, they start opening up.
correct,
So I think it's a little difficult to understand while I'm just talking, Harish. But for
right.
all the people out here, I'm happy to invite them to a complimentary class so that
That
they
would
can
be
actually
amazing, actually. Yes, yes.
yeah, they can actually see this in action. So if anyone wants to join, just drop in your email ID and we'll invite you to a complimentary class so that you can actually understand, because it may not
Absolutely.
make sense as I'm speaking.
Right, right. No, I have it. I did manage to attend your seminar. So, I have been reading and watching your work. I've been working very closely with Mohit. And idea is something which always has been fascinating to me. And really, this should be a blend with therapies and, ongoing programs is what I personally believe. That would really shoot
Absolutely.
up the progress of the child. So, okay,
Absolutely. I totally agree with that, Harish. Totally.
yeah,
We should work as a team. And,
absolutely, absolutely, ma'am.
just today I was teaching a class where we were talking about remediating the core deficits, but there are also co occurring conditions that happen. There are
Correct.
some children who have problems with articulation. There are some children who have sensory needs. We need to
Right.
address everything.
Every
And to
aspect of
that
it.
extent, we need to work. Like, for example, the work that you do with Mohit, with his postures and
Posture.
everything, that is the speciality that you bring. And it's
Right.
well appreciated because whereas I work on the core deficits, but this is a
Right.
co-occurring condition that needs help from a specialist. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is amazing, ma'am. So, ma'am, the next question is by Mr. Sandeep. How do we develop positive vibes in the family with a special child? How to motivate ourselves for the betterment of our child?
this is such a lovely question, and I identify with every parent. I know what exactly we all go through, but one is, we've got to take care of ourselves first. So,
Right.
what this is something I ask every parent: what is your me time? Okay, I met a mother and she said, I love reading. So I said, okay, have you been doing it? She's newly started on the program and she said, no, I haven't read for years because I've just been so engrossed in my child that I haven't done this for myself. And I was like, this week you're going back to it.
Right.
If a parent is not happy, how can they help a child? So,
Exactly.
and everyone needs their me time.
Exactly.
When I work with fathers, also, I ask them, what do you enjoy? What is it that you like? And everyone puts their life on hold, but that's not healthy. How
Right.
can, if we are not happy parents, how can we help children? So I think
Absolutely.
that it's so important. And then that us time. I've actually talked to so many parents and I've asked them, when was the last time you both went out with each other? And they look at each other, and that tells me that's enough. I don't need to hear an answer, because it's like, if you are not taking time out for yourself to have a healthy marriage, how can you
Right.
support the child? It will be
Right.
detrimental to the child.
Correct. Correct.
Right? So
Correct.
then it's me time, us time, and then time with the child, which will then be productive. And Harish, when I was trained at the Lovas Clinic, in those days, I'm talking about the early 90s, where the
Right.
rate of autism at that time, they had told me, is 1 in 10,000. Okay, at
Right.
that time, it was like 5 hours of working, of tabletop work. I didn't have energy or time for anything else. But now, when I work with mothers, I tell them, give me half an hour of your time a day. Give me 1 hour. But that time is solely yours with the child.
Correct.
Okay, it's going to be concentrated quality time that you are going to give your child. And it works beautifully. For many fathers, they say we come home at 8 at night, we come home at 9 at night. So then they make it up on weekends. And sometimes, when they come home at 8, they spend 15-20 minutes. That's all right, as long as it's quality time and we're building that relationship with the child.
Right. This is very important point, ma'am. And I think as a professional, you should have separate, section where you address parents and actually train them or empower them with these thoughts, because this is the core problem which we have
Yes,
seen, as we all agree to that. At certain point, parents give up or they're
yes,
overdoing it. That again both has its own detrimental effects on the child. So I think that
right.
solves the question. Okay. So, so the next question is, ma'am, how can we work on social interaction apart from interacting with family or parents during such lockdown?
Yeah, so I think social interaction is definitely a problem at this point of time, right? But um, I think if there are siblings around, it's a huge help. Just
Right.
yesterday I was explaining to a family. There was this, in fact, someone had posted a video on Instagram, which I found really cute, which was about, they had put up obstacles and these two little kids were jumping in cloth bags around the obstacles. So I was like, let's make it a family game.
Right.
Ask them to find something appropriate to jump around in, like make it a hide and seek adventure kind of thing. Then let them
Right.
bring the bag and let them then engage in the activity. So they were
Right.
really
Right.
excited about it because we need to have this kind of excitement in a child's life. And
Right.
also, many of them are now on online classes, right?
Correct. Correct.
So, the one of them was sharing that her son goes, he's 6 years old, he goes on an online class, and they're just very dysregulated at that time because they're not used to having these kind of online interactions. But I
Correct.
think
Correct.
meaningful interactions within the family, even if the whole family is sitting together, for my older boys and girls, we're sitting together and watching a movie together. That's wonderful, right?
Right.
So
Right.
just that quality bonding time, let's use this time for that.
Correct. 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 Very true and very practical. So, ma'am, the next question is, can you please give some inputs for regulation activities?
Right. So I think walking is a great regulation activity. Walking together, transferring things from one part of the room to another. The other activity that I described earlier of, cleaning up cupboards, putting things away. When your clothes come in, first of all, bringing the clothes in. Then for those
Right.
children who can fold, so sitting together and folding clothes, segregating clothes, putting them away in different rooms. There's so much that happens at home. So having these simple activities in which both the parent and the child have a clear role is
Right.
very regulating for the child.
Right. Right, ma'am. So we'll take up few more questions, ma'am, since we are almost done with our stipulated time. So the question is, hi, Ashrita's dad here. I need to know how to really observe and find what a child is interested in, because we as parents tend to observe things only what we are interested in.
Such a beautiful question. This is so beautiful. And thank you for asking this question. I think, we need to have those eyes to just watch carefully, watch what the child is doing, what he enjoys, what she enjoys. When they're alone, what do they play with? When
Right,
you give them and give them lots of opportunities, like for example, if you don't give a child crayons and paints, you'll never know if the child is artistically inclined. If you don't
right,
offer a simple musical instrument, how do you know if the child is interested in music? Sing with
right,
them, listen to music, expose them and watch. There are little giveaways that you will pick up. Like, for example, many students on the spectrum, they have perfect pitch. When you sing with
right,
them, and I've seen many of them, like I've seen Mohit do it. So as a child, we used to attend bhajans, and he knows hundreds of bhajans, even today. But if anyone sings off note, he kind of covers his ear like this. This tells me that the child is musically inclined. So
right,
few
right,
things like this, if you observe, give them something to draw, see what they come up with. Give them things to do with their hands. Are they good with puzzles? Are they good with blocks? What do they enjoy?
right.
Watch very carefully and you will get a lot of answers. I think observation is such a big thing. And if you
Absolutely.
observe with those eyes, you will get your answers.
Right, right. So, ma'am, we'll wait for a couple of minutes before we conclude our sessions. I think we got a lot of online queries. So I am sure many would definitely have more queries, and few parents have also requested that they want to get in touch with you. So
Sure.
what we can do is, audience and parents, therapists, whoever is keen to get in touch with Kamini ma'am, they can directly message me their email. or I will be posting the email of SAI Connections on my story. I'll put up the number of Miss Nutan and Miss Samida, who are the coordinators. So you can directly get in touch with Kamini ma'am through them. I think that would be great.
Yeah, wonderful. I
Okay,
would
ma'am.
love to meet parents and support in whatever way I can. And I know this
Absolutely, ma'am.
lockdown period is difficult, but please do take care of yourselves.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, any message from your end for families in general as a last question?
Absolutely. The one thing which I say again and again, and I will not tire of saying it, is never give up hope. Never. You do not know what may unfold for you, and your child has tremendous potential. I'm
Right,
telling you this after 25 years plus of working with autistic individuals. I believe they're brilliant, and never give up on them, because they're here to actually teach us in many ways. But
right,
give them a
right.
chance. Give them a chance to show their potential. Never ever give up.
Right, right. Thank you so much, ma'am. The whole
Thank you.
episode was so amazing. I think it was really brilliant, very positive, and it was very insightful. So really, thank you so much, ma'am, for being a part of this series and with your time and experience. And I think it gave a new door for parents to look into other than therapies. You know, this is something which will help like a bridge to connect is what I feel. And
Yes.
hopefully people are able to access you and, whatever queries are, it will get addressed in coming time.
Sure.
So
I'll be
thank you
very
so much.
happy to do that, Harish. Thank you
Thank you,
so
ma'am.
much for arranging this. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
You've
My
been an
pleasure and
excellent
privilege.
host.
Thank you, ma'am. And thank you so much for your patience listening, guys. We'll get in touch. I'll post the updates on my story and I'll share the email with Kamini ma'am and team so you can definitely get in touch with her. Thank you so much and
Thank
stay
you.
safe and
Thank
stay
you.
good.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Bye.
Bye, ma'am.